welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devin.
I'm Dan.
We have been on a hiatus because we were both dying of the Omicron.
We both got sick, unfortunately, but we're both back.
Yes, we're back. We're healthier than ever. That's a lie. We're okay, though. And we are ready to talk about the Wheel of Time. But first, did you like anything this week, Dan?
Well, sure. Like I said, or like you said.
Or this past 6 months that we've been AWOL.
Well, there's a few things I'll highlight, though, because, yeah, like I did see some stuff and everything. But let's see. There was Junji Ito, the horror manga writer who I really like. I picked up his Frankenstein collection, or Frankenstein, I guess. And that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And then I picked up his newer one called Deserter. And it was, again, the Frankenstein was more of a bigger story, and this one, again, was more of a horror collection. But I could definitely tell I've read too much of this guy and his stuff, because as I was going through, I was like, well, it'll probably be this, but I was hoping maybe it wouldn't be that, you know, like a different twist. And then I was like, oh, no, it was that.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was still good and enjoyable and great art, but I was just like, oh, I think I'm starting to know too much. But yeah, enjoy his stuff for sure still. I finished reading Full Metal Alchemist, the manga, which I haven't read in a while. And then a friend of mine was asking me about manga recommendations. And I was like, you should read Full Metal Alchemist. It's pretty good. And I was like, I haven't read that in a while. So I read it.
Nice.
It's only like 108 issues or something like that kind of thing. So it's not too huge. It's cool. Pretty good. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it to you off air, or I don't think, because I listened to the Sandman Audiobook Part 1.
Oh, yeah. I'm still working through Part 2 right now.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like you've been recommending it many times, and yeah, it was quite good, blew me away, and I very much enjoyed the radio production kind of level of it.
So well produced.
Yeah, it's like an old radio drama, but the Sandman.
You get really immersed into it, hey?
Yeah, I really liked it, and like I said to you as well, the cast was really interesting and varied, and no slight on her. Kat Dennings sometimes seems to work as Death and other times doesn't seem to work as Death, but overall, really good.
Totally. I'm looking forward to the Netflix show. I'm pretty sure Neil Gaiman's pretty involved with it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's like a hit like Good Omens and not a miss like American Gods.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I haven't really looked into it too much because I don't want to get the hopes up, as it were. I'm just kind of like, there's so much to watch. I mean, I'm so behind on everything anyway, so. I
haven't read the graphic novels, but, like, I've read a few of them, but not all of them. Mm-hmm. But listening to Volume 1 and seeing the trailer for the Netflix show, it looked the way I thought it should look.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I have read the comics, all of them. They're great. And, yeah, listening to the show, like I told you as well, just made me want to read the comic again.
That's awesome. I wanted to read the comics, but I found them a bit too chaotic for me to follow properly.
Yeah, you could definitely tell they're written in a different era of comic production, in that, like, there's a lot of thought ballooning and that kind of, like, writing and exposition, whereas these days that's really cut down a lot, and the art really is more coming through. So, yeah, there's just a different era going on there, but the story is still really good, of course.
Of course it is, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing I guess I'll highlight, which we may do an episode about, it was on the docket until the illness, was Hawkeye. I finished watching the show.
Oh, nice. Me too.
Yeah, and first impressions, I did enjoy it, but if we do an episode, I'll get into it more. But yeah, that's all the stuff I'll kind of highlight right now. What about yourself, Devin?
Sorry. I thought it was solidly okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. To me now.
Sure.
I coincidentally have 6 things that I like, and it's 2 books, 2 movies, and 2 TV shows, which was not planned out. That's kind of how it worked.
Nice.
So first, my brother gave me Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe for Christmas. Smythe or Smith, I'm not sure. Smythe. Smythe, right?
Probably Smythe, yeah.
Yeah. Which was a web comic that got published into a volume. Volume 1 is out now. Volume 2, I think, comes out in May, and it's like a modern retelling of the story of Hades and Persephone.
Oh, cool.
But the art style is very cool. It's almost like, it feels like lo-fi hip hop. I don't know how else to explain. Like each god kind of has their own color palette. So like all of Hades stuff is like mostly blues and grays with a little bit of red. Persephone's like mostly pink and white. So it's like, I don't know, it has a really cool feel. I'll try to, next time you come over, I'll show you it because I think you'd like the art style.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the second book is that I've kind of made it a New Year's resolution to read all of the books that I own that I haven't read yet.
Nice.
A few months ago, Tony bought me The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman, who wrote the, what's it called? The Golden Compass trilogy, Dark Materials?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a prequel trilogy, which I didn't realize until like they started talking about the demons.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Well, the dust kind of gave it away for me, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be related or not.
I don't remember anything about the dust. It's been a long time since I read his Dark Materials. I might, after I'm finished the prequels, which I'm really enjoying, I might go back and reread them. But it's got a very cozy feel. And the main character is like a 10-year-old boy named Malcolm. And he's just like the most 10-year-old boy ever. Like, if that makes any sense, like you really feel like it's a real kid the way he's written. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm only about halfway through.
So, sorry, and so this is a trilogy and they're all out now?
Well, I know Book of Dust is out.
Sure.
I don't know if the other ones are out. Let's see what year it was published.
Yeah, that's what I was curious. Sorry, it's just like did just come out like last year or a decade ago, and I just had never heard of it.
Also, there's like other books in his Dark Materials. There's Lyra's Oxford and Once Upon a Time in the North and The Collectors, which I never knew that he had written other ones.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a reread on them after the show finishes, because season 2 finished last year, and I don't know when season 3 is coming out, but I have enjoyed the show, so I was kind of thinking, maybe I'll hold off, and so I won't be like, they left it all out, as it were, kind of a thing.
So 2017 is when it came out.
Okay, so fairly recent.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends like how quickly he's writing them, because in theory, all 3 of them could be out if he's writing.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he's like a book a year type, or is it a book every 2 years or every 3 or something? Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm enjoying The Book of Dust. I'll loan it to you if you want to read it.
Cool.
So those are the 2 books. The 2 movies were Don't Look Up, which is a Netflix movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, a bunch of other fucking people. I really liked it. It's getting very mixed reviews. People are like either love it or hate it.
Oh, interesting, because all I've seen is just positive, so.
Okay. I think that, I don't know who hates it, but I found it to be a really well-crafted movie. I guess some of the critiques, it's a longer movie. I think it's like 3 hours.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty long.
So I think some people think it drags in the middle, but I think it just kind of builds tension. Like you don't need to have explosive action every 2 seconds.
What?
I know, I'm an idiot. But yeah, no, I really liked it. When I was watching it, I was like, fuck, Dan's gonna love this movie. And then afterwards, I found out that it's the same director as The Big Short. Which I know you really liked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't got around to it yet. On the list for sure. It
gave me big old Dan vibes watching it. I'm like, this is a movie that Dan will like. I really hope you're not one of the people that hate it. If you do watch it, I'll sound like an idiot. But I really enjoyed it. I thought my dad would like it too. It kind of got that vibe, but yeah, it was really good. The next movie is Encanto, which is a new Disney movie that's on Disney Plus. And I've watched it twice already. It is so good. It made me cry more than once. It's really well done. The songs in it are amazing. I really appreciate Disney's shift from princesses getting rescued to like people, like there's no love story in it. There's no bad guy in it, in a sense.
They're just doing stuff.
It's just, so without spoiling anything, Mirabelle is the protagonist, and she is part of a family who gets a magical gift when they come of age. Like when they hit like 10 or whatever. I don't know how old. Mm-hmm. And they get those gifts because Abuela, the grandmother, basically accidentally or not accidentally, I don't know, she conjured a miracle when her husband got killed in front of her. And that miracle built this house that they all live in that's like magical and can do cool things. And so that's why they all get some sort of magical gift, but Mirabelle never gets one. When she goes to get her gift, it doesn't work. And so the movie takes place right after her youngest cousin gets his gift, and the house starts to lose its magic, and the people living in the house start to lose their powers. It's basically about finding the sorry, Meatball wants in. Hey, Meatball. It's about, you know, like saving the magic and preserving the home and all that. But it's so well done, Dad. It's such a good movie.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, okay, for the shows, I watched season 6 of Queer Eye, which again made me cry a lot. It was very good. And then I watched season 2 of The Witcher, which did not make me cry.
But you enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. I like it. It had a more fun feel than season 1, in my opinion. It was just more like little fun adventures, which is, I don't know. That's it. That's all I got on that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Those are my 6 things.
Nice. And then, of course, what we're here discussing, The Wheel of Time. And I just want to say, I watched this show twice, and in between watch 1 and 2, I listened to the audiobook of The Wheel of Time. And also, I've read the entire Wheel of Time, some of it more than once. And like, I've probably forgotten more than I remember about The Wheel of Time. It was funny listening to the first book that I was like, man, I remember all of this book still. Because I was just like, oh yeah, this is when they do this, and I was like, oh yeah, like I remember all of this. So yeah, I have a heavy backstory in the Wheel of Time.
I knew that Wheel of Time was a series of books.
That's true, yeah.
That's all I knew going in. I didn't know what it was about. I think I remember that Sean had some of the Wheel of Time books. Our friend Sean, sorry, yeah. Audience.
Well, I had them all.
Oh, no, I remember the cover of one of them. That's about it. And I'm pretty sure that it was The Wheel of Time, but it might have been the other author that he really liked, Michael Moorcock. It might have been one of those.
Right. Yeah, and it was interesting, of course, when this was finally going to be coming out, in that, like, they've tried to make shows of this in the past. They've tried to do movies. There was a video game, of course, and nothing has really kind of stuck, and it's kind of out of the zeitgeist, as it were. Like, people that like the Wheel of Time like the Wheel of Time, but no one's like out there championing the Wheel of Time, right? Like, it's not like the Lord of the Rings or something, right?
Oh yeah, and then the author died, and then your other favorite author had to finish it. Yeah,
Sanderson had to write the last 3.
Right.
3 or 4? He wrote. He wrote at least 3 of them. Yeah.
That would be so hard to do, to step into somebody else's books and try to have the same tone and everything.
Well, and it's interesting as well in those last ones, in that like they had the outlines, unfortunately, like a lot of Robert Jordan's notes and everything, so he wasn't totally blind. But he was only allowed to introduce one kind of character or element, and he did, and you could tell like that character is very Sanderson, but he he works well into the story and incorporates well, but it's just kind of like they were only like, no, you can't add, because it was already so huge that they're like, just don't add more.
Yeah, we need to be subtracting, not adding. Just kill characters off left, right, and center.
Basically, yeah.
So how many books are there in total?
There are 14.
14. And
yes.
Without giving too many spoilers,
mm-hmm.
Are the characters in book 1 in book 14?
Most of them, yes.
Okay. I was wondering because I'm like, that's a very long series to have like the same characters through the whole thing.
Well, and like you said, as it expands, so the first book, and that's one of the things with the show that's different, is that the book 1 is essentially like 80% Rand POV. It flips to Nynaeve and Perrin a few chapters here and there, but it's mostly all Rand POV. And then as the books continue, then you start getting more POVs. So yeah, you get like Egwene's POV, Perrin more, Matt more, and everything. So it's not always just written from like the one POV. And so that helps it kind of expand it and continue to keep it not fresh, but like, yeah, like you're not just annoyed by, like if you don't like that character, you're just like, you don't want to read their stuff, right?
I immediately hated Rand, and I'm like, that's how I know that he is the protagonist.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. Like, was something, they aged up all the characters, but they're far younger in the book.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you about that because you said they aged them up, but part of Perrin's whole story in the show. Which we'll get into. Spoilers, whatever. Okay. Part of, like, a main part of Perrin's story is that he kills his wife by accident.
Yes.
So was he a 14-year-old who's married?
No. So, yeah, like, they're like 16, 17 in the book, I'd say, probably. I think around closer to 16. They're just 3 teenage boys. They don't have any wives. They don't have any homes. They got nothing. They doing what they're doing. Like, he's an apprentice blacksmith, yes, but not like married.
So did he kill somebody else?
No.
Oh, so that whole part of his story, they're just like, he needs more personality, so let's have him kill his wife?
Well, and basically, like, the whole point is that, like, he is reluctant to fight. And in the book, like, he just, like, because they talk about it, and you get more of his inner thoughts about that he's like, I don't really want to fight stuff, but they do anyway. And so, yeah, the whole wife thing, I was just like, okay, sure.
You're like, oh, hey, we have the perfect solution.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he want to fight? Oh, he killed his wife. What?
I mean, yeah, like it makes perfect sense in the show, but that it's just like, that's not kind of what it's about, or what he's about anyway. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess so 8 episodes. Amazon put this out, developed by Rafi Judkins. There's a whole bunch of directors and a whole bunch of writers. Yeah, the composer was Lorne Balfe, because I liked some of the music and stuff like that. Although in the first episode, I will say straight out of the gate too here, I found the pilot episode almost the weakest episode of the entire series, which is weird.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I didn't mind the soundtrack, though. I did feel like the opening credits was trying to be like Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the opening credits.
Oh, no, they're great. But I'm like, this is very like post Game of Thrones.
Well, and it was weird because in the final episode credits as well, they added the whole tapestry part, which was not in the earlier episodes, which was kind of odd.
Oh, did I turn it off or did I skip that?
Well, even in the final episode, if you skip the credits, because I just did, it still shows the extended tapestry, which is not shown in the other episodes. Anyway.
I have no memory of that.
It's a minor thing.
I might have been on my phone, I'm not going to lie.
It's a minor thing, of course. But yeah, you got a big cast because it's a big show. They spent about $80 million on it, so approximately $10 million an episode. That's why it got cut back. They wanted to do 10, but they were like, oh my God, we're spending too much money. Yeah, like they spent a lot of money on it.
It looks really good, though. I do have to say, this is some of the best costuming I've ever seen.
Yeah, the production design and the costuming, I really like the costuming, especially in episode 6, like I was saying to you, when they go to the White Tower and you finally get to see like all of the different kind of Aes Sedai and everything, and they all have different costumes and they're, regionally what they would wear and all that kind of stuff like that. Yeah, very appreciated all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. I loved everything any Aes Sedai wore. I'm like, I would wear that. I love it. And kind of how, like, even though they were in like formal dresses, they all kind of had like armor-ish elements, like really strong shoulders or like chainmail details, stuff like that. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, like Leandrin has like that leather belt that she's always wearing, and then even when she's in the seat, yeah, like it's more chainmail-esque, but it's still that same kind of belt.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
It was very cool.
There's 4 directors mostly listed, and then a whole bunch of the writers. And what's interesting is the writers, the way they're listed, it's like how they actually wrote all the episodes, except for the last episode was written by the same person who wrote like the first episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the 4 main directors, I guess, was Uta Briswitz, Wayne Yip, and Sally Richardson, and Kieran Donnelly was the 4 I could find there.
Cool. Who directed episode 6?
I don't know. I don't have them listed as like who directed what. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I think episode 6 was one of the best episodes. That's why I was asking.
I think it is kind of like, not universally, but like even Sanderson, who was a producer on the show, was like, yeah, episode 6 was like my favorite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I think just because we get a lot of, really good world building elements, some actual drama and, insight into the world, because again, this is something I'm going to compare back and forth. They never get to Tar Valon in book 1.
Is that the White Tower?
Yeah, that's the city of the White Tower. They never get there in the first book.
Oh, so this is like book 1.5.
It's more like book 1 and elements from book 2 and 3.
Okay.
Or then they basically cut, because it's some of my favorite stuff is, so they basically cut the city of Camelin, which is where they end up, and then where they all finally meet after getting split up. So they cut that stuff out and then basically transported that to Tar Valon.
Okay, so the last city was the city from the last episode, right? That's what you mean?
No. So that's Faldara.
Okay.
So Camelin is just like, it's a city they get to. It's a big city in the world,
but we don't see it in the show.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, they cut that out and then transported the elements from that to the Tar Valon stuff. But then it kind of contradicts a little bit, because then there's a lot of stuff that happens when they first finally get there that we didn't see. Then they just teleport to Faldara. And it's just like, no.
Oh, so what happens that we don't see?
Well, I don't want to get too much into it. Like, so there's one of my favorite things is that when they parade Logain through Camelin, Rand climbs a wall to get a good view. Accidentally, he climbs a wall to the inner to the palace and falls into the garden there, and then meets the daughter heir of the city, meets the queen, meets the prince, 2 of the princes, and they have a whole scene and everything like that. The character is Elaine, who returns in the future. It's really good, and it's a fun kind of situation. The whole politic thing with Camelin as well, of course, is cut. And like I was joking with you, like I was like, oh, how are they going to handle this, that they're split up, because a lot of stuff happens on the road and they just cut to the 1 month later.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens a lot in the book that I really enjoyed was Rand and Matt basically act as gleemen to pay their way on the road, and they get attacked by dark friends like constantly as well. Like not just one time. Yeah, like all the time essentially. So they're like super paranoid and like really worried, and Matt, of course, after stealing the dagger, is even more so. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happens. Just stuff like that where he meets Loyal in Camelin, not in Tar Valon, of course. Just stuff like that. That all kind of got chopped out, which I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of too bad.
Is that where the like seer bartender is?
So again, Min, when they meet her in Faldara, that's in the book. She's actually way earlier in the book. She is actually in the first city they go to, which is Berlon. And yeah, like it's just a stop on their way. Like there's still a whole crew together at the time. And Moraine brings her to Min because she basically has her stash there to keep her keep her safe, because people are like, hey, she's a witch kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I have a question before I know we're gonna get into stuff, but
Sure,
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Perrin a werewolf?
I think I've seen this comment online, and again, this was something that was sort of mishandled, mainly probably because of timing. So in the book, Perrin and Egwene, after they get separated, they're wandering the plains because their idea is to walk to Camelin, avoiding the cities, kind of a thing, and like avoiding the main roads. They meet a man on that road who has gold eyes. His name is Elias, and he basically explains what Perrin's power is because he has that power.
Oh.
And it's not werewolfism.
He just controls the wolves.
No, he can talk to wolves.
Oh.
And basically, and again, this is something that the show sort of dabbles in, but not really. The book is very heavily. Dreams are a whole big thing. Dreams are basically a whole other world, a whole other power set, and wolves exist in both the dream world and the regular world. And Perrin can control things and has more power in the dream world than in the real world, because wolves do. And then, he's got wolf senses and etc. And there is a fear that sometimes people with this power, they can like lose themselves to the beast, essentially, and become more wolf than man.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act. And so the man they meet, Elias, doesn't like to, interact with people, and he's, more of a loner because people are afraid because they think that they're evil or a dark friend because they have glowing eyes and hang out with wolves.
Yeah, because they're werewolves.
Yeah, exactly. So no, he's not a werewolf. It was sort of mishandled in that way, that there's zero explanation. And even in the book, it is literally, they just meet the guy, and then, there's like a fire, and then some of the wolves are there, and Perrin and Egwene are like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, I can talk to wolves, and the wolves say that he can do it. And like, that's it. It's just like, oh, he has that power.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of, so it was weird that they cut that guy out, Elias, because eventually they do travel with the Tinkers, Elias, Perrin, and Egwene, and then eventually they leave them and they run into the White Cloaks and have an altercation there. But they kind of cut that guy out.
So Egwene and what's the other lady's name?
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve. Okay, so they're at the beginning. They're both wisdoms.
Well, so Nynaeve is, and Egwene's like her apprentice.
Right. And that's why she jumped in the river after getting her hair braided.
Well, I assume that was some kind of more Two Rivers women's ceremony kind of a thing. Okay. Yeah.
So they're both wisdoms, and wisdoms are like healers?
Yeah, essentially they're like herbalists or healers or shamans for the village, but not all of them can use the one power. Some can, some can't.
They can't channel.
That's right.
Except for Nynaeve.
Well, Nynaeve can, and so can Egwene. When people can actually listen to the wind, that's actually them, using a facet of the one power.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I needed some clarification.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
The show doesn't really, which I like, it doesn't just spoon feed it to you, like with the werewolf thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can answer the questions that I can answer for sure.
And so Egwene thinks that she's the best channeler ever, but she's not.
Well, she is led to believe that essentially from, Moraine at that one point, but then, Nynaeve. So it's one thing that's sort of, again, it's hard to translate. Nynaeve is a very powerful channeler. Even in the books, she's very, very powerful. And until later books, she can't channel unless she's like pissed off and really angry. Whereas Egwene can channel, like she has more control and is very powerful herself. So it's like she has more ability essentially than Nynaeve does because she can control her emotions and channel under pressure and all that kind of stuff like that. Whereas Nynaeve, it's a huge block until like literally like book 5 or 6 or something like that kind of thing that she can't channel unless like she's really mad about something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Rand is the Dragon Reborn.
He is the Dragon Reborn, yeah.
So he has the power to annoy.
He's really good at that too. It's also something that's a little odd in the book, and I don't know, it's not like a thing. So they know that the dragon is a man. That's the whole point of why the Red Aja fears and hunts down men who can channel, because men who can channel may one day become the dragon.
And they also go crazy.
And they also go crazy because of the corruption. But it's like there's never a chance that the dragon's a woman. So I don't know why they even include that aspect, but I was like, okay, whatever. And also Moraine pretty much knows that Rand's the dragon. Like in the book, she suspects like before they get to Faldara that he's the dragon, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I thought was kind of odd that they were still kind of, she's like, oh, I don't know who the dragon is. It's like, yeah, you do. You know it's him. Like, but I don't know why.
Okay. And then this is supposed to be set far in the future?
Well, it's so it was 3,000 years since the last breaking of the world. And yeah, we get that one scene in episode 7, I think it is, or is it 8? It's 8, sorry.
Where they're in the future.
Well, yeah, where they're
flying cars.
Yeah, so they call that the Age of Legends. And that was an age of, high technology, high magic, and stuff was, legendary. And it all got destroyed 3,000 years ago. And then what happened after the breaking of the world, which is what they call it, is that then there was war for like another 1,000 years because people were trying to, consolidate power. There was Trollocs that came down and everything. So the world was just messed for essentially like another 1,500 years. So like what we kind of see, it's like it's a civilization that's been rebuilt back up, but they've lost thousands of years of progress and technology and, magical capability.
I might feel differently if I read the book, but I didn't really like that aspect of the show.
Yeah, I was surprised that they did the little flying car thing because I was like, what? No, don't do that. That's not necessary. It's like you do look outside, you can see that it's a high, nice city and everything looks nice. But I guess they were just trying to get across that it was like there was something legendary going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, Matt's power is being evil.
So this is something I'm not a fan of here. There is definitely some mishandling of Matt. Well, so this was something, again, like I was saying, when they get to Camelin and Moraine, she kind of basically contains the power of Mashadar or of the dagger within the dagger, and it's still bonded to Matt. He can't get rid of it yet. And I think it's not till, again, book 2 or 3 maybe, where they finally get back to Tar Valon, and it takes like 6 Aes Sedai to basically free him from the dagger. Like, it takes a bunch of them.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like, it's a huge deal. And when it happens, this is one of my favorite things that I guess we won't get, is that he has gaps in his memory, and he can't remember many things. And his like luck changes. And he goes on a gambler spree through Tar Valon, just like winning at everything. It's super fun. And he's just like winning at games he doesn't even know. Like he plays against a guy with loaded dice and beats him with the loaded dice.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's just doing stuff like that. And it's really good. And as well as he starts to, because it's in the book, it's not really shown in the show, is that like she talks about Manetheren, is like they're all really capable fighters and they become better and better. And he's at the warder training area and they all fight with swords, and he challenges like a whole bunch of them and beats them all with a staff kind of thing. And they're all like, what is even happening? Who is this guy kind of a thing, right? So again, some fun stuff. He doesn't go evil. I don't know where they're going with that.
Yeah, because they set him up like he's just evil man McEvilface.
Yeah, no, so he does not turn to the shadow. He's got some, troubles, but yeah, no, nothing like that.
But he doesn't get all like dark circles under his eyes and.
Well, I mean, he gets pretty messed up by the dagger and stuff. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, like he's on the side of good. Okay,
interesting.
Yeah, I was very curious. I was like, what do they do? The only thing I think of is because that actor, Barney Harris is his name. I think he was only signed on to do the first season. So maybe they were like, okay, we need to write him out in some way so that we can bring in another actor to be Matt in the second season.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is there.
Why would he only sign on for the first season?
Maybe scheduling conflicts or whatever, because I think the same thing happened with the guy who played Logain, Alvaro Morte, I guess his name is. He was only signed on to do the first, I think, as well.
Who's that? I can't remember.
He was the false dragon who was in the cage.
Oh, he was so good. I thought he was like one of the standout performances for me.
I agree. Every scene he was in was great.
Yeah, I wanted more of him. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hope he's the dragon.
Well, spoilers again for Wheel of Time. He is stilled at this point. Nynaeve eventually figures out how to heal stealing, and he gets his power back, and he becomes Rand's second in command.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But how does he become Rand's second of command when Rand ran away from everybody because he's a little pussy?
And again, this is something that's illy communicated, is essentially Moiraine in the book lets him go because she's like, it's part of the prophecy that he has to go out and like do stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's okay with it, essentially. In fact, it's one of my favorite things, and I think it's in the second or third book, maybe in the third one, where he ends up in a town, basically Moiraine's like, okay, yeah, here you can go. Here's supplies and everything like that. And then he opens up all the supplies, and all it is like highborn noble clothing that's all embroidered with dragon motifs. And she gives him the dragon banner. And he's like, what the hell?
That's hilarious.
Because he's all trying to be like, hey, I don't want to be known as, I'm not the dragon kind of thing. And he's just like, nope, you're the dragon.
Rah, rah, rah. You're the dragon.
Yeah. Essentially. So again, it's one of my, something that I don't know if we're going to be able to get. So no, as I say, Moiraine getting stilled was an odd choice because that does not happen in the book.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's how because you said Egwene can heal that now?
Well, Nynaeve eventually figures it out, but I'm talking like 6 books down the line.
Oh, because I was going to say maybe she heals Moiraine in next season or something.
Yeah, it's the only thing I could think of. But I was just, again, I was like, yeah, that's 6, 7 books down that happens.
So Rand, when he goes to the Dark One,
yeah,
is that how that goes down in the book?
No.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. That reeked of like movie.
Yeah, definitely very.
Book.
Like, it was a good idea and like an interesting kind of way, but yeah, that's again not how it's portrayed in the book, which that's fine. It's a little more different because in the book, like I was saying, like we know the Rand is the dragon far earlier in the book because we get samples. It's his POV, so we get samples of him channeling when they're on the road, running from dark friends and stuff like that. And one of the big things that happens, which I was surprised they didn't really kind of do it this way, is that, yeah, he gets trapped, him and Matt, in a kind of like a storeroom, and there's like dark friends outside and everything, and there's like a big rainstorm. And he's basically like desperate. He's just like, I just want to way out. I want to way out. And then lightning like crashes and blows open a hole in the wall, takes down some dudes and everything. And then him and Matt get away. And essentially the same thing kind of happens at the Eye of the World. They're confronted with 2 of the Forsaken, not Ishamael, the guy we see in the show. Basically, he's just like, yeah, like Nynaeve goes down, Lan gets knocked over, and that's why Nynaeve tries to help him, and she gets hit, and he's trying to protect Egwene, and he's just like, I just need a way out of here. And he summons up like a whole bunch of the One Power, teleports to Tarwin's Gap, and then like lays waste to that Trolloc army. It's not done entirely by a novice and people who don't know how to channel. And then, so he lays waste to like a whole bunch of that army. Not all of it, but like enough that the humans can then win out the fight. And then, he ends up killing basically 2 of the Forsaken. Yeah, they all go to the Eye of the World too, which was something that was kind of far different from the show again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that kind of confrontation with the Ishamael kind of happens again. I think it's in later books again where, he tries to tempt him and they fight actually with swords.
Not with feelings?
Not with feelings, no, unfortunately. But I did like kind of what he was offering him, that he's just like, yeah, you have the power to remake the world, which is true. He does. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, at least they're demonstrating that yeah, he could do that.
Oh man, I wanted to live in that cabin personally.
Sure, it's a nice cabin.
That was so beautiful, the view and everything. I think that's all my questions. Oh no, I have another question.
Okay, sure.
Since we're going all out of order.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
The dude that shows up in the last minute after all the Aes Sedai helpers, what are they called again? They're watchers? They're...
No, the warders.
Warders.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, they weren't warders. They were just soldiers in the last episode.
Yeah.
And they have a box.
Yes.
Under the floor. And then the guy that showed up and took it, that was the guy that was like the vending guy?
Yes, correct. That's Paddin Fane.
So is he like major?
Is he what, sorry?
Is he like important?
Well, so he's an interesting character in the book. He's more of like almost like a Gollum type, where he got taken to an area and then tortured and it basically essentially turned into like a hound to track the three of them. Because again, the Dark One doesn't know who the dragon is. He doesn't know if it's Rand, Matt, or Perrin. And so he can just track all three of them. And so, yeah, he gets kind of like put through the ringer and he's with the Trollocs and the Fades and they don't really believe him. And he actually gets captured at Faldara and then Moraine like learns from him about essentially how he's been turned into a tracker and tortured and etc. Eventually, he does escape. He somehow gets possession of the dagger and he does steal the horn of Valir for a little bit, but they get it back eventually. And then he's weird. He shows up here and there.
Is the horn what was in the little box?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't read the second book in a long time, and I don't remember if the horn, if they find it like that, if it's just like they're like, oh yeah, it's under our chair, right? So I don't recall about that as much, but I do know that Paddin Fane eventually steals it, and then the evil of the dagger, he's able to like he just puts it on the box and no one will touch it because the evil of the dagger is there and people they don't want to get messed up essentially, right? So he does play a part here and there, and then eventually comes back at the end in the last battle kind of thing, and there's some more stuff going on there. So it was disjointed in that way. I did like though him showing up like when in episode 5 or whatever, like where they pan and Rand's walking down the street and then he's just like in the little stall and you see him, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. That it shows that he's there and he's at least he just doesn't show up super randomly.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean,
all the questions that I had about the show.
Sure. Because I mean, it's probably not shocking that the Wheel of Time is pretty inspired by Lord of the Rings in many ways, right?
What?
I know. Like the Fades are very much the ring wraiths, and you got your Trollocs and everything like that, right? And even in like the journey when they leave the Two Rivers, Land trains them how to fight some more and everything like that. It's very similar to Aragorn and Boromir and the Hobbits and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot of parallels there. But that's like I was. Land. Yeah, Land Mandragoran is awesome, but that's one of the things, like I said, with the Dream World stuff is very much its own. Like you don't really see that a lot in a lot of fantasy stuff. Like you do see here and there, but it's so heavily focused on in the Wheel of Time.
Oh, cool.
I would say one thing for me that was kind of, I wish they had, I guess maybe they probably thought of it or it would have cost too much, was I liked, especially when the men were channeling, I liked how they showed the corruption within the channeling. But one of the things that is majorly focused on is that, the channeling is made up of the 5 elements, classic water, earth, air, fire, spirit kind of a thing, right? And that women channelers are better with like, air and water, and men channelers are better with fire and earth, and they're all equal at spirit. So I was kind of hoping, like in the book, it's very depicted when you start getting more of those other POVs, that when people are channeling, because it's all about the weave, right? So they are weaving different elements together and they can see that. And then unfortunately in the show, all we just see is white light.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, it's minor, but it could have been kind of neat, because then that helps you in the book especially. But it's like you could tell what kind of spell they're casting in a sense, because they're like, oh, there's more fire woven into this, so they're going to shoot some kind of fireball or whatever, right? Like,
oh yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's a minor thing, but I mean, what are you going to do? They got to do something.
For the Aes Sedai,
yeah,
the blue ones are spies.
Yeah, the blue. So, sorry. Again, this is there's like the 7 Ajas? I think there's 7 of them. And yeah, they all focus on different things. The blues are more about information gathering and being out in the world rather than just like being insular.
And they have warders.
Yeah.
And then the red ones don't have warders, and they just They just kill people.
Well, their whole mission is to hunt down male channelers. And
wow, that's specific and intense.
Yeah, that's literally their mission, essentially, is to do that. And I think I want to say that they don't take warders, but it's not like a rule. It's like there may have been some here or there, but it's like for the most part in the book, I think they're all depicted. They don't have warders because there's like even some of like the more bookish ones, like I think the Brown Aja are the history ones, and some of them have warders, but some don't, right? Kind of thing.
And the green ones are healers?
No, the green ones are the battle Aja. The yellows are the healers.
Oh, that's weird. I totally thought they were healers in the show.
No, she says it a couple times. I joined the green, the battle Aja. So
and they have warders, and one of them has 2 warders, and they make boink together, which I thought was funny.
Yeah. So yeah, many of the greens have more than one warder, essentially, because they're meant to be more in the fight. So you need more cover.
And they're all poly, because didn't they say in the show that all the green Aes Sedai have relationships with their warders?
Again, it's some do, some don't, right?
It's positive poly representation.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying like it's not all of them.
Okay, and so then the yellow ones are healers, and I don't remember any of the other colors.
Yeah, we don't really get to see more of them. Like
there's white ones too, right?
There's the white ones, yeah. And I honestly forget what they're about.
They're about hunting down Aes Sedai. Okay, so in the books,
yeah,
the white cloaks, that's all they do, right? Is they hunt down the Aes Sedai?
No. Yes and no. So they believe that the Aes Sedai are dark friends, essentially.
Are what?
Dark friends.
Dark friends.
Yeah, they think they're all, in league with the shadow, essentially. Gotcha. And not for humanity's sake and et cetera. And so, but they're basically, try to protect people and this and that, but they're more just idiot jerks. and yeah, like they're killing the wrong thing, essentially, right?
They did a very good job of showing them to be evil in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when in episode 2, like I was talking with you before, that it's just like that switch where it's like, okay, we're going on the adventure. And it's just like, oh, there's this guy burning a woman at the stake.
He's cut her hands off.
He's cut her hands off. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I was like, wow, that was quite the change. And yeah.
Eating a live baby bird.
No, it's not live. It's just the whole bird. Yeah, basically. Yeah, so they're just kind of misguided in that, like, they think that the Aes Sedai are evil. I mean, technically some are because there's the Black Aja, but they're meant to try to help humanity at the last battle, where some of the White Cloaks, many believe that they're just like, yeah, they're all evil. They should all be just killed because they're witches, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is there an overall government for this world? Like, is there one, or are these all just like cities that govern themselves? Like, is there one higher power?
No, there are separate kingdoms, essentially, that, again, we don't really kind of get a sense of. That's what I was saying when they go to Caemlyn and he meets the Queen, Queen of Andor. That's the name of the kingdom, and technically the Cherubers is part of Andor. So she technically is their queen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and like they mentioned Tyr briefly. Again, that's another big country and city. And so yeah, there are some kingdoms essentially that are run like any fantasy kind of setting, where some are run by a king, some are run by a queen, some are run by a council. Some, I think it's like Tyr technically has a regent because they have the Stone of Tyr is a big fortress, and it has the sword that cannot be touched in it, which is the sword meant for the dragon. And so they technically don't have a king because they know that the dragon is technically their king. So they have like a regent kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that kind of stuff going on.
Are the Aes Sedai only in the White Tower, or are there like Aes Sedai in every city? Yeah.
So again, in Caemlyn, when he meets the Queen of Andor, her advisor is an Aes Sedai. And like I said, she actually encourages her to imprison Rand because she's like, this guy stands at the center of like a storm kind of a thing, which is true. And so some are out advising kings and queens, some are out doing other stuff. But at this point, like Logain kind of says, he's like their power is sort of waning and people don't trust them anymore. And so, yeah, they are mostly in Tarvalon.
So that's like their HQ, but then they get like assignments to go to different places.
Sure. Or yeah, they get requests for help, or maybe they see something's going on. Like you said, the Blues are mostly spies and stuff like that. So they they get information. They'll be like, oh, an uprising might occur here. Maybe we should send some people out and deal with it or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But their job is supposed to be to help fend off the Dark One, help at the last battle.
Okay. And then one more question. Sorry.
Sure. No, that's all right. I love talking the Wheel of Time. It's very interesting.
It is. I'm seeing a lot of differences between the show and the book.
Sure.
You said there was a character that got introduced that was one of your favorites in the book, but you didn't like him in the show.
Oh, well, that's Tom Maryland.
And who was that? The dude in the little weird boat town?
Yeah, that was the Gleeman, Tom Maryland.
Oh yeah. What?
Yeah.
And how is he different from the book to the show?
Well, in the book, he actually is in the Two Rivers the night that they get attacked. Like, he's there right away.
Oh.
And as the name implies, the Gleeman is meant to bring more glee than depression.
All right.
Not saying that the song wasn't good that he sung. I did enjoy the song, but it's more like, they're supposed to, make people happy. They do juggling and they tell stories and they sing. And Tom Maryland also actually plays the harp and the flute as his main instruments. And which, again, I guess that'd be hard to find a harpist. Yeah, it turns out, you get hints to it in the book, especially when they finally get to Camelin, that he essentially used to be the sort of consort, but sort of not, of the Queen of Camelin, and he was basically like her spy master.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's got a lot more going on than just the simple Gleeman. He is sort of you're not sure if he lives or dies, because that he does encounter and fight off a Fade so Ren and Matt can escape, just like in the show. Mm-hmm. It's just it more occurs in a different situation. It occurs at White Ridge, which is a city. Or a town anyway, versus a farmhouse. But like I said, he's one of my favorites in the book just because he's just a normal guy, but he's like the classic, like Eddings wrote that same kind of character. What was it? Silk, I think his name was, where it's just he's just simple, unassuming guy, but a spy master, knows his way around stuff, good with the throwing knives, but also he's a Gleeman, so people trust him and, let him into places and stuff like that. That's his whole part of his power and mystique.
I wonder if they changed it to him playing like I don't know, is he playing like a guitar or a lute or something?
Yeah, he's playing like a guitar, it looked like, yeah.
I wonder if they changed it to that and they gave the song a more somber feel because of The Witcher. Because there's a bard character in The Witcher who's like everybody's favorite character.
Yeah, Jaskier, right?
Yeah, and he plays like, I don't know, like a guitar or a lute, and the first season, it was toss a coin to your Witcher, which kind of, it's not like sad sounding, but it's not like a lively song. And then in the second season, it was Burn, Witcher, Burn, I think.
Nice.
He's mad at him. His boyfriend didn't pay attention.
Oh.
Yeah, sad time.
Well, and I think they use the song because, the song that they sing when they're riding about Manetheren, and they use this song as well, talking about Elena and stuff like that, to kind of almost give a little bit of exposition about the world, right? Because that's the song about the dragon that Tom sings, and then the song about Manetheren that they sing. It's about, like she explains, the war that occurred in their homeland, right? So.
Right. Yeah.
So it's more just, I think, written like that, whereas. In the book, again, they go to taverns and they sing these songs to help pay their way, and so people are happy and spending money on booze, as it were. So
nice.
But he comes back. And even in the first book, Maureen says, she's like, I don't think he's dead because I would have heard about that. So he comes back eventually and plays a larger role. But in the early story, he's there the whole time. And he actually escapes from Shadowell Largoth with Matt and Rand, and they end up on a boat traveling together.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, just a difference there. But he's a lot of fun in the books.
Yeah. I don't know. What else should we talk about this show?
I mean, I guess we should talk a bit about some of the cast people, right? Like we haven't mentioned. Rosamund Pike plays Moraine, who is essentially our main character.
I thought all of the casting was wonderful.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with the cast.
I did take issue, and I've already talked to you about this off air, but I don't, especially in the first scene we're introduced to him, I don't understand why Rand looks so modern and everybody else looks so medieval. Like, he's got his boy band haircut. In the first scene, he's wearing a sweater that we could just walk down to the bay and buy today. And I just didn't really, like, understand other than, like, they think that, you know, he'll be posters on preteen girls' walls or something. I don't know. I
don't know as well. I mean, I didn't really feel that way. I just thought, like, that his sweater looked really well made, but again, him and his dad, they're shepherds, you know, so they got the wool access.
But it didn't look like an oldie-timey sweater. It looked like a modern sweater. Like, I could find you that sweater right now. Whereas, like, I couldn't find you Moraine's dress, right?
Yeah, her riding cloak.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I could find it at a mall, not, like, on a cosplay website.
Sure.
And it also, I don't know, it's just, like, his short, like, cropped, excellently maintained little strawberry blonde curls didn't seem like oldie-timey to me.
Fair enough.
It seemed anachronistic. That's a big word.
Yeah. Well, and I think, even in the show or in the book as well, he's got shorter hair, but it's like they could have gone and, I mean, maybe his hair doesn't grow like that, but they could wig him up or whatever. Like they could just give him longer hair, sort of like Tam wears his hair, like his dad. And, but maybe again, it was
like Matt didn't have like obscenely long hair, but it looked like hair that wasn't cut at a salon.
Right.
And same with Perrin. He had shorter hair, but it looked like I'm like, oh yeah, you know, you could hack that off with the kitchen shears or whatever. I don't know.
Sure.
But Rand looks like he's, you know, he goes to a high-end salon in modern times with modern tools.
He gets Egwene to do his hair, you know, she knows what's up.
Obviously, she's channeling to make his hair look fresh as fuck.
Well, and just going back to, like you're saying, Rosamund Pike was really good, and I thought that she was a good choice. And
oh yeah,
it's an interesting line to walk because, you know, they're supposed to be mysterious, and you know, she's trying to manipulate them and everything like that, but also she's like, actually, I'm on your side. You know,
it's also, I don't know about you, but it's so crazy how different she looks with dark hair.
Yes.
Like compared to, because she's normally got blonde hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it took me so long to figure out who, like, I'm like, I know that name, but it took me so long to figure out who that was. Right,
fair enough. Yeah, and her warder, as you said, Henny. Playing Alan Mandragoran.
He was great.
Yeah.
Who played Leandrin is the Red Asha, right?
Yes.
I thought she was really well cast. She reminded me a bit of, like, Lucy Lawless.
Sure, yeah. Her name was Kate Fleetwood.
Oh, I thought she was really good at just being kind of mean and angry.
Yeah, and trying to be all, like, manipulative and awesome. And then when she gets put in her place by Moraine, you're like, yeah, take that, finally. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, because, again, it's been a while since, and I mentioned the Black Aja, which is, you know, within the Aes Sedai, that there are some that, you know, work for the Dark One and stuff like that. And I can't remember if she was one of them or not. I think it's hinted that she is, but she isn't, like, I think at the end of the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like she's being manipulated by the Black Aja in some way. It's the same thing with, like, when Suan, played by Sophie Okonedeno, in the books, again, it's, like, hinted that maybe her and Moraine were lovers back when they first were accepted, but there's never anything overt. And so I was just like, whatever, okay, fine, you know. But that whole plot of them being there when the dragon was born, that's straight out of the book. So like and it's like they're the only two that know, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that they were lovers. I thought that was a nice addition.
Well, and it made for a really powerful scene when she has to exile her, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, which I did.
Plus, I don't know. I'm just like, yay, more gay.
Fair enough. I was gonna say, this is a big spoiler, but one of the things that I really like with Suan is that so eventually she does get struck down from the Amarylline seat and stilled.
Oh.
And she's allowed to live within the White Tower. And again, these are major spoilers here. Egwene gets raised up to become the Amarylline seat. And,
oh wow.
Yeah, it's a whole like kind of manipulation deal because Egwene still didn't accept it at the time. She's not even a full sister. And but she becomes Egwene's like spy master because she still has all her contacts throughout the world. She just no longer can channel. And so she plays that role of just like subservient, like, oh, and everyone's like, oh, poor Suan, she's just like helping her out, like this or that kind of thing. But then it's like she's really advising her and like helping her out in many ways. So I really like that eventual change with her character. Yeah, no, it's really cool. And then she gets eventually healed from stilling by Nynaeve.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I really liked that plot, and I liked it was depicted very well in the show.
Yeah, I thought so too. I also one of my favorite moments from the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have to keep jumping around.
No, that's fine.
Is it the opening to episode 7 or 8 where we get the pregnancy fight?
7.
Man, that was so badass.
It was quite badass. I wasn't expecting that at all in the show.
It's just like this lady who is like, well, you later find out that it's Rand, but she's pregnant, giving birth, and fighting off like 10 dudes.
Yeah.
Like not easily, but she just keeps trying to like find somewhere to like push this baby out of her, but like these dudes keep attacking her, so she fights them. Yeah,
and it's I wasn't expecting that in the show at all because again, it's hinted at and this and that, and it's like, yeah, that's Rand's mom, and he's an Aielman, right? So
what's an Aielman?
So yeah, like Loyal mentions it as well, but they come from across a mountain range, and they live in the land called the Threefold Waste, and their Aielmen stand for People of the Dragon, and they know that they're basically preparing themselves for the eventual dragon to fight in his army. They're basically like the Fremen from Dune.
I don't know Dune either, dude.
They're basically a desert-dwelling fighting force.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, their whole system is weird in that like men and women also fight. They have a very strict honor code. But then there's also like, rules like, yeah, if you wrong somebody, you become their servant for a couple years to make up for it. But then after that, all is forgiven. And, you just go back to becoming your warrior again. That kind of stuff, right? Where they have like this kind of weird code because they live in this desert waste. So they can't be wasting materials and everything.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they're all well-trained, highly skilled fighters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that part a lot. I think that I didn't realize that what my life needed was to watch more scenes where pregnant women have to fight people. But after seeing that, I'm like, why doesn't every movie have a scene where a badass woman fights off like a million dudes while she's giving birth in the snow?
Yeah, on the side of Dragonmount, right?
Yeah, and that should be in every show and every movie.
Well, and that occurs during basically like a war where I think it's Kaharian. Basically, like their king cut down a tree that was a gift from the Aiel, and so they basically go to war to like kill him, and then they're like, okay, war's over after he dies. But people fought them when they were trying to go back and everything like that. And then that was the final battle of that war was on the side of the Dragonmount.
And then the guy that helps her give birth, well, he holds her hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Big whoop. That's Rand's adopted dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he has the crane sword.
Perrin, but yes.
Perrin, which is important.
Yeah, so again, explained in the book, but basically it's like an indication of a sword master if you have the Perrin mark blade.
Oh.
So it's like,
well, that makes it more special when he takes it out from under the bed.
Yes, it does.
What are they? Trollop?
Yeah. The trollop. Damn you, trollop.
The trollop fight.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because it's just like, why would this simple farmer be a sword master, right?
Yeah, okay. That would have way more impact if I understood the backstory.
Yeah. Well, it's also just like it's, he's got this katana under his bed. Why would even a farmer have that, right?
For the sheep.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta discipline the sheep,
Yeah, with your katana.
With your katana. Duh. Don't you know anything about farming, Dad?
Yeah, fair enough, I don't. Yeah, because there's actually a couple points in the book where actually Rand encounters some White Cloaks early in Barrelon, and they kind of all step off because they see like that he's got a heron marked blade, and they're like, whoa, 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 don't get involved with that, because
nice.
Yeah.
But then it turns out that Rand is not good with a sword.
Well, and again, this is something like Lan was training them to fight on their journey, but we didn't get to see that, so he becomes better.
All right.
Yeah. Because he's got to become worthy of it.
Are the White Cloaks all men?
Yes, because they believe that the Aes Sedai are witches, and it's one of those kind of things.
And the Aes Sedai are all women. So it's more like a sexism thing.
Yeah. Well, it's more of like a purity.
Like, we can't let the women have power. We got to take their hands and their rings and then burn them.
Yeah. Well, and like even like that scene with Leandrin, which I did like, where she's talking with, I think it was Nynaeve, right? Where she's like, women have the power, but men still run the world, and they don't look kindly on a woman or a girl who can be more special than them, kind of thing, or whatever. It was a good scene.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good scene.
Yeah.
I liked it when she escaped from the White Cloak too. That was fun. Where she's like, I'm going to do this fireball and it doesn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
It was good times.
Well, and so again, difference book versus show. Lan, Nynaeve, and Moraine help Perrin and Egwene escape with the help of the wolves from the camp.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Because Moraine, this was something that I thought was weird that they didn't include in the show. It's very simple. Moraine gives each of them a coin in the start of the book, Matt, Rand, and Perrin, that is, and it basically creates like a bond. And so she can know where they are, like directionally kind of thing. And then we all get separated. She's like, oh no, I know they're okay. I can still sense like the coin with the one and the two are together. And then Rand and Matt use their coin to pay for passage on the boat. Because it's money. And but so she's able to, well, no, because they're like, we had to pay. But she's able to track Perrin, and then they help them escape. And then she's able to sort of know that Rand and Matt are on like the in this direction, but they don't have their coin anymore, but they're probably still alive, kind of thing. And so it was a simple little thing. So when Nynaeve's all like, are they alive, blah 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 blah, she's like, yeah, they're fine, we're going to help them, kind of thing. So I thought that was just an odd thing to take away.
In the book, does Nynaeve almost die from a Trolloc and then track Lan and Moraine like she does in the show?
Kind of. I don't think it happens exactly like that kind of a thing. I think they just leave. Yeah, maybe Nynaeve. I can't remember exactly.
It's funny watching it because when she shows up at the end of episode 2,
yeah,
I had completely forgot that she was a character. I thought it was just a random person being like, where are they? And I'm like,
yeah.
What's she looking for?
Nice.
Take me to them. Take you to who?
Yeah. I mean, that it plays out very similarly in that, yeah, like she goes to, yeah, she tracks them down and then she's like, take me to them. I'm taking them home, kind of thing. And then she's like, yeah, you're never going home.
Good time.
Yeah, because she eventually ends up, enrolling in the White Tower, becoming a novice and then accepted and all that kind of stuff like that. So which is kind of weird when you think, because she's all like, I got to get home. And it's like, oh, no, you left your village without a wisdom.
Fuck the village.
Basically, like she doesn't go back for years.
Oh, wow.
Or months or whatever. She doesn't go back for a long time.
Did you have like a least favorite part of the show, or a part of the show that you were like, they really fucking dropped the ball on this?
No, I mean, overall, I thought it was pretty good and a good crack at it. It was just more, like I've said before as well, because I haven't really looked into it. It's just like, what is the plan? Like, what's Amazon's idea here? They cut this back from 10 to 8 because it was, kind of expensive. And it's like, yeah, there's 14 books.
Yeah, they're going to do all 14 seasons.
Yeah, and I think that's
22 episodes a season.
Sure. Well, and that's was something I was saying to you as well, is that in, say, like the first 5 books, especially, like so much happens that it's kind of like those books need to be expanded, and some of the later books need to be compressed because so little happens. So it's like some of those could be compressed together to be a season of the show, but like I was saying, they took out a whole city and a whole thing in this season 1, and then they introduced the Horn of Valir, which is the whole point of book 2. So it's kind of like, yeah, what's the plan here? But I thought, it was just minor things, like the opening the Waygate. You don't need to be a channeler to do it. In fact, and the Waygates are actually usually depicted as a mural on like a wall.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, they're really cool, and you have to manipulate the Avendesora leaf to open it. So it's like a channeler doesn't need to do it. Also, like minor thing again, like they take their horses into the ways. I was like, when they're showing the show, they're like, the horses wouldn't survive. I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, they will. You literally.
The horses didn't like the set.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just like, okay, that's kind of odd, but just some minor stuff here or there like that. And like I was saying, the design of the power, I think could have been different, but I thought it was, at least the effects of the power were really cool. Like when they're getting attacked by Loghain's followers and they're just blowing up the earth and everything like that. Like, look great. The lightning looked good. Moraine throwing the building at the Trollocs, it's good stuff, right? So
yeah,
it's like, I don't know. Yeah, nothing really stood out to me as like, just awful. But again, maybe because I do know a lot of a lot of it is that the character interaction here or there may have been like not the best writing, but overall it was still good.
Okay.
It was just more. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, like I said, just some of the elements being moved here or there. Like, why was Min in the last city rather than the first city they go to? Doesn't really make sense, right?
I guess it makes sense because now we're more invested in the characters, so we care about what happens to them more.
Sure.
Like, that's the only reasoning I could see for that, is like we're more invested, so if we got like a lot of bad news or like how Ming sees Nynaeve kind of like burn up.
Mm-hmm.
In that one part, like you're like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen to her? She's gonna die? Yeah. No, she's not gonna die. Was there any part of the show that you thought they did like particularly well? Like, it just blew your mind that they somehow reached into your imagination and pulled out this scene?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. But I think, again, I mean, we've been sort of spoiled. We've had some good fantasy content in the last little while. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and stuff like that. And so The Witcher, sure. So I think, like I said, I especially like the design of the fades looked really good.
Yeah, they did look really good.
Yeah, so, it was just more of that kind of stuff like that where I think it met my expectations, but nothing really like went beyond and blew me away. I've been always more just shocked that it's happened, that it's like we've got a live action adaptation of the Wheel of Time and it's decent, right? Because they've been trying to make something out of the Wheel of Time. This was something I didn't know. So back in 2000, there was an option for it, but they never did anything. Then in 2004, the rights were sold to a company called Red Eagle Entertainment. Okay. And then in 2015, they aired a 22-minute pilot for a potential Wheel of Time show starring Billy Zane.
22 minutes, ouch.
Yeah, starring Billy Zane and Max Ryan.
What?
It played at like 12:30 at night on FX, kind of thing. And so no one saw it. Essentially, no one knew what the heck was going on. And then
who is Billy Zane playing?
I have no idea. I didn't even look any further into it. But apparently, Jordan's widow, Harriet McDougal, was like down about it, but then they sued her saying that it was like you knew that the show was happening and like you were involved in production meetings. Apparently it was settled out of court in like 2016 or something like that. But I was just kind of like, I had never heard of this at all.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so apparently like she was saying something like that it was like probably all done to maintain the rights, kind of a la Fantastic Four. And so apparently they've been trying to do this for a long time, of course, and then Sony has the rights currently. I guess maybe they bought Red Eagle Entertainment or something like that. And then Amazon came on to make the show. They've announced that they're going to do a second season. Before the first season even aired, they're like, yeah, we're going to do season 2. So it was like, I guess they thought it was good.
My phone gives me notifications for like shitty web articles all the time. I haven't read any of them, so this is not that helpful, but I've seen so many like headlines that are like, will Wheel of Time stop production of Lord of the Rings prequel that Amazon wants to make? So I don't know. Apparently it's going to affect that in some way, probably budget-wise, I would assume.
I could see budget-wise, or just maybe because I know that Amazon's really going harder on the Silmarillion or the Lord of the Rings stuff, right? I think they have a bigger budget and all that kind of stuff like that. So maybe they're just like, oh, people aren't into fantasy, maybe we shouldn't do it. But it's also like the Wheel of Time, like I was saying, it's not as popular, right?
Yeah. Amazon's doing good work lately.
Yeah, I think overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this. Had a good cast. I guess we didn't really talk about some of the cast names more. Like Zoe Robbins was Nynaeve, who carried a lot of the show. Mm-hmm. Madeline Madden was Egwene. Again, it was funny because difference from the book to the show, where they're all like, oh, all 5 of you are involved in this and that. And it's like, again, in the book, it's the 3 of them are the Ta'veren, Ranmat, and Perrin, and they capture them as they go and change their fate, right? And not saying that they're not big parts of the show, the books, Nynaeve and Egwene, that is. But anyway, Joshua Stradowski, he's our model Rand al'Thor. Marcus Rutherford, Perrin. And then, like I said, Barney Harris played Matt for the first season here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was also weird when I'm pretty sure they killed Loyal, played by Haman Amashwan. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. But he lives to the end. I don't know why they killed him.
Who is he? Sorry?
He was the Ogier.
The who?
The ogre who helps them in the ways. Wait,
he died?
Yeah, when Perrin comes back after they find the white box and he's getting stabbed by Padan Fain.
I might have been on my phone for that part.
Fair enough. Anyway, and then Kay Alexander plays Min Farsaw. Michael McElhatton plays Tam al'Thor, who I'm sure you recognized as well. He's been in stuff. I've seen it as soon as I saw his face. I was like, oh yeah, that guy.
Wait, which guy is that again?
That's Rand's adopted dad.
Oh, I don't know who he was.
Oh, anyway.
I don't remember him at all.
Fair enough. My point was, he's like, yeah, it's kind of just crazy that we're getting it. What about for you then? Same question, I guess, did you ask me? I didn't ask you. Like, was there anything that you just didn't like 100%, aside from Rand's sweater?
Yeah, fuck his sweater.
Yeah.
It was a bit annoying. This is just a minor thing, but it was a bit annoying that they did the 1 month later, and then they kind of alluded to things that happened during that month that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a bit like, oh, you could just not mention those things. You could just jump forward a month and yeah, okay. And then like, I don't know, I honestly thought that the best part of the movie was of the show was the costumes. And I mean that like as high praise. I don't mean that like it was a shitty show with good costumes. I mean like the costumes were just really fucking good.
Sure, yeah, like even the Tuathon or the Tinkers, they had the whole good aesthetic going on there.
There was definitely some differentiation between like the different groups that they did like visually with the costumes, which was cool because otherwise I think it would have been like a mess for somebody who hasn't read the books to try to follow who all these fucking characters were.
Sure.
But like, like the village crew, because they still kind of look like the Two Rivers people did. And like, when it's an Aes Sedai right away, because they have like a very distinct kind of tailoring, and like the white cloaks, obviously you can tell who's like you can tell who's highborn and lowborn. The little like port town that Rand and Matt go to, like that looks very distinct, and it looks like appropriate for like their poverty level, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it didn't look like, nothing looked like it was a bagged Halloween costume, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that was one of my favorite things in that episode 6 when and 5 and 6, but the distinct look between even the Aes Sedai themselves to show like the culture they came from. I thought that was a really nice, like, yeah, really well done.
Yeah, no, I just thought like whoever did the costuming did a great job. Their head designer was excellent.
Good production design.
Well, because, you know, sometimes, like, you know, I get, like, a bit picky about costumes.
Sure. Yeah.
But, like, just as an example, and not just an opportunity to shit on this movie again, but in Alita Battle Angel, it really drove me crazy that some of the, like, thugs were wearing elope machinist goggles that were right out of the package. They weren't altered in any way. They didn't add dirt to them. They didn't add wear and tear. They didn't paint them a different color. They didn't change the lenses. It all looked exactly the same as when you get it from elope. To the point where if we had seen a little tag that said elope on it, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, that was in take 1. They forgot to take them off.
Yeah, shit. So, like, and I mean, obviously, like, because I work in, like, an alternative fashion / costume store, it's something that I notice a lot. But, sure. Yeah, I just, like, nothing looked like... I mean, I'm sure some things were purchased, but everything looked intentional and like it was designed for the show.
Yeah, and I think for me, I enjoyed a lot of it, but my negative is just like, it didn't seem like they took enough time in some areas. Like when they go into the ways, right? Like they're only in there for 2 minutes, and it's like, well, no, that's an interesting fantasy setting. You're in this dark, mysterious thing, floating islands, and like, you know, an unknown threat of the Black Wind, and then they're just like, and we're out. And it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, so even that kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, they just didn't take their time in some areas to help flesh it out. And that could be, unfortunately, because they only had the 8 episodes versus like the 10 they wanted to do. Even in the first episode, like I was saying to you as well, like they're like, okay, we got to go. And then there was no scene of even them talking to anybody. It's just cut to the riding out of the house, like, or running out of like no interaction with Rand and his dad, nothing with like Egwene and his family. Even Egwene, she actually in the book just sneaks off with them. She leaves like a note. She wasn't part of the crew of like, hey, we got to leave, which is fine. But yeah, like so it's just like that kind of thing where I was just like, shouldn't we take a moment to like show something here to more, like you said, get invested with the character?
We could even do it as a flashback on the road, right? Like if they didn't want to do it in sequence.
Sure.
But nope. Yeah, I do agree that it did have a bit of like a rushed feeling. Like the pacing could have been better.
Yeah, so like I said, that's kind of just some of my negative, but like that's not a huge thing, but it's a thing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Because like even when they go to Shadow Logoth, like we got some time there at least to explore around a little bit, look around, and then, you know, then the threat comes, and like what a great setting, right? So, you know, it's just take your time here and there.
That's silly, Dan.
I know. I mean, that costs money, and I'm not the one forking out $80 million for it. So,
do you think they filmed a bunch of stuff and then cut it?
I don't know. I mean, it's very possible. Like, I don't know what the kind of the turnaround time is. I know that they filmed, or did I have that written down? I thought I had it written down. But, you know, they filmed, and then there was COVID, and because I think they had to shut down because they filmed mostly in Prague and that kind of area. So I think they had to shut down at one point. So that probably affected it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example, I was I had an actress in the store that was in Sabrina, the last season of Sabrina, which was so bad.
Right.
That they cut a bunch of stuff out of it because she had a major speaking role. And when you watch the season, she's like, doesn't have any lines. Like they cut out all of her stuff. Which is funny because she was at the premiere and stuff for it too, right?
Nice.
So she went to the premiere, she got to hang out with all the actors, she got interviewed, and then like all of her stuff was cut out.
Yeah, it very well could have been, or maybe there was more in the scripts that they just had to cut so they couldn't shoot it because of the effects and all that kind of stuff like that, right? Because, I'm sure they built some sets, but much of it was probably CG. So.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. We just don't know, as it were, sometimes. But it's
Dan, sorry, speaking of sets randomly.
Yeah.
The other day I rewatched League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Sorry, continue.
And it's still bad. But they've got painted backdrops, right?
Yeah.
And you can see where the painting is. You can see the line of the backdrop of where the backdrop meets the set.
Nice.
It's so great.
Well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
The effects have not aged well with that movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Did you know, this is a random fact, that the director and Sean Connery didn't get along, like hated each other so much that was, for both of them, that was the last movie they ever made?
Yeah, I did know that there was some friction. I didn't know that, and I know the director hasn't worked again, but maybe I didn't know if it was just because he was like, I'm done with this kind of thing. And I know Connery didn't understand anything that was happening, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the director still works. He does like script writing and stuff like that, and like production stuff, but he quit directing because of Sean Connery.
Well done, Sean. Well done.
Yeah. It's a random tidbit for you.
Yeah.
I think we should probably wrap things up because we've been talking for a good long while.
Sure. Well, and I just wanted to quickly highlight as well, we didn't really talk about episode by episode, of course, because there's a lot, but the funeral and Blood Calls for Blood, episode 5, that was intense and unexpected in this kind of show. And that kind of stuff is good. It shows some character and some world building and stuff like that, right?
Oh, is that when the warder killed himself?
Yes.
Yeah. That was intense.
Yeah, it was just very unexpected that I was like, oh wow, this is intense about this character that why do we care, right? But it's just it was good, right? And the scene with Logain and like I said, his followers attacking, that was a cool kind of battle scene showing off some skills and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there was a lot of good in here. I would definitely recommend checking out if you haven't, or if you're interested in some fantasy stuff. Unfortunately, I think like I said, the pilot's weaker. Episode 2, 3 really start picking up, and I was like, all right, this is now we're getting into something here. But overall, worth the watch.
I agree. I mean, if you like fantasy and if you like good costuming, it's totally worth watching.
But I'm also kind of thinking from the angle, what if someone doesn't like fantasy? Would they potentially enjoy it? Because that was one of the hallmarks of Game of Thrones. It kind of drew in people that weren't into fantasy. Same thing with Lord of the Rings. Those movies are so good that they're just, who cares that it's fantasy, right? Would it draw in that kind of an audience? I'm not sure, but I've definitely recommended it to some people where they were kind of like, oh yeah, maybe I liked Game of Thrones a little bit. I was like, yeah, you should give this a shot.
I don't see. I think part of the appeal of Game of Thrones is that it went against a lot of fantasy tropes, and there was also swearing and nudity and drinking in it.
Sure.
I mean, you do get to see Lan's butt, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would be super appealing to a non-fantasy lover.
Yeah.
To somebody who hates fantasy, I don't know. I don't know if they'd like this.
That's
if
fair.
I'm being totally and completely and utterly honest.
But then, you're saying though, maybe someone like yourself, even you didn't know much about it.
But I like
you enjoy Yeah, that's to say you enjoy fantasy. You enjoyed it overall.
Oh yeah. I would recommend it to somebody who is lukewarm to very into fantasy.
Nice.
I don't know if it would be for someone who's like, I just don't like fantasy. I would be like, okay, it's probably not the movie for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like war movies. So it doesn't really matter if they're really good because I don't like them.
Fair enough.
I don't like the dirty feeling of war movies. Like World War II movies, they always feel so dirty.
Well, I mean, it was dirty.
I know that. I know it's
Yeah.
like being accurate, but it doesn't fill me with any sort of.
Yeah, you're just not into it.
I'm just not into it. It doesn't make me feel anything other than like dirty.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you can watch like a really sad movie and cry and it's still like satisfying and entertaining, but I don't get those feelings when I watch war movies. I'm just kind of like, meh.
Right.
Or like we've previously discussed on the show when there's like unnecessary like sexual abuse in a show or a movie. I'm like, why is that in there? Like this rape scene doesn't add anything to the story.
Yeah.
Like, why even have it? Like, I don't like that because I just feel like that's people being like, hey, we can throw sex in this, but we can make people not feel guilty about it because it was non-consensual. And I'm like, no, thank you. This is gross.
Yeah, that sounds worse.
Yeah, it's worse. Guys, it's worse. Make everybody lesbians and have them fight during childbirth. That's all I want. Not too much to ask.
Well, I mean, yeah, like if the show continues on.
Yes, it is too much to ask.
Well, no, to say again, the world is quite expansive, and they visit everywhere. There's a lot of stuff with the Aiel if we get there.
Aiel?
Yeah, Rand's mom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like stuff I like?
Maybe, mostly.
Okay.
Well, I think like you were saying as well that like the women in this universe have the power. They're more powerful than the men, and like in the Aiel society that's recognized, and like yeah, there's like the women's circle and the women's and stuff and everything like that, and because they can channel. So like, you know, they're like, hey, we're really powerful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they're very equivalent to the Dune Fremen, and yeah, they live that tribal lifestyle, but they're all badass.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pregnancy fight.
Yeah, that was definitely an intense scene.
That was one of the best scenes in the show.
Sure, it was.
Yeah. Just in case just go watch the beginning of season 7 if you don't like fantasy, just to watch a pregnancy fight.
No context. Yeah.
No context, none needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, good show. I recommend. So does Dan.
Yeah.
Unless you hate fantasy. Then you can go watch, I don't know, Matrix 4. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it. Like and subscribe and rate and go to the website, tomeofuselessness.com. Send us an email saying, hey, you were right about the Wheel of Time, or hey, you're really wrong about the Wheel of Time. tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram, which is Tome of Uselessness. We post sometimes. And also just go download all of our previous episodes and listen to them and love them. And I don't know. What else do we say?
I should say stay safe and thanks for listening.
Yeah, goodbye. Happy New Year.